You hear that? That's a sigh of relief from Red Raider Nation. As news came out on Friday that James Blanchard, the GM for Texas Tech football, has declined a job offer from the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and will stay out in the 806. Today we'll discuss why that is such a pivotal decision for Texas Tech, as well as look at the 2025 football schedule and my instant reaction in terms of, well, when I saw it come out on Tuesday, what did I think Texas Tech record should be in 2025 and what their absolute ceiling is in an all-in type year for Texas Tech. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. And before you do anything else in this video, I want you to go down to that like button if you are excited that James Blanchard is staying out in the 806 with Joey McGuire and crew to continue his role as the GM of the Texas Tech football program. Listen, it is a new era of college football. I don't think I'm telling you anything new, but James Blanchard is literally one of the most highly coveted and thought of GMs in modern college football for what he has done at Texas Tech and how he continues to pioneer the position in this brand new landscape of college football. If you were excited to have him a part of Red Raider Nation for the next 3 years, at least that's what the contract says, like the damn video. All right, let's jump into it. This is all you need to see, Texas Tech fans. How about this, huh? Here to stay. Big time stuff. Because I was talking over on the Scarlet and Black Insider in the sense of when we heard the news that, hey, James Blanchard is at least going up to South Bend to meet with Marcus Freeman and the Fighting Irish, who came in obviously national runner-up this year in terms of the national championship. There was obviously some cause for concern. But we hadn't heard much afterwards. And every minute that went by, I said that that was going to pay off huge for Texas Tech. Because I think if he was going to leave, it would have happened rather quickly. Okay, but instead, obviously, as you can see, he's there in the south end zone with the head man himself, Joey McGuire, taking a picture, and James Blanchard will continue to lead the personnel department for Texas Tech. This is what Joey McGuire had to say. On the plane from day one, unfinished business, #wreck 'em. You got to remember, and I think some people forget because there is a lot of stuff that's gone on during the Joey McGuire era and a lot of positives, right? James Blanchard was the first hire that Joey McGuire made in his tenure as Texas Tech head football coach. He followed him from Baylor. You obviously have the NFL connection there with James Blanchard as he went with Matt Rule to the NFL, to the Carolina Panthers, where he was a scout for one season before returning to Baylor and then inevitably following Joey McGuire out to the 806 when he took over as the lead man for Texas Tech. It's pivotal, right, that Texas Tech continues to have James Blanchard in the highest position outside of head coach in college football. And I know that that might be a bold statement to some of y'all out there in terms of, oh, I hate the way college football is going. Well, listen, it's the NFL model, baby. This is the reality of it. You either get on the train or you get left behind. That's how it is. And Texas Tech is the conductor in a lot of ways of this modern college football era with the GM. And who's the GM? Obviously, it's James Blanchard, I mean, he's unbelievable. Right? 2 top 25 classes for Texas Tech and was instrumental in the Red Raiders securing the top portal class according to On3 in this past portal cycle. As we move on, let's look at what Matt Olson had to say about the contract details. As I mentioned a little earlier, it's a 3-year deal and it is worth a total value of $1.575 million. So on average, just over $500,000 per year to be the GM of Texas Tech football. Worth it. Worth it. There's a reason this guy is highly coveted. He's really damn good at his job, okay? You had multiple schools going after him. This is the second time he's told Notre Dame no in consecutive seasons. He's already told Lincoln Riley out in SoCal no. He wants to be a part of this Texas Tech program and help lead them to a Big 12 title, just like Joey McGuire. And he's done it not only, showing in terms of, hey, on Twitter, hyping everybody up and everything like that, also with other things that he said from the media-wise, he's backing up with his actions, people. He's going out there and he is solidifying this Texas Tech roster to be in the upper echelon, top 4 roster in the Big 12, if not better. going into 2025. Now you're going to have to prove it on the field, obviously, and that's where the players come in. But you have to have the talent, and he is really good at talent acquisition. And that's not even to discuss other guys in the personnel department like Brian Nance as well. They do a phenomenal job, but he is the head man in that department, and he is one of the most trusted, if not the most trusted confidant of Joey McGuire in that building. And they have a great relationship, and it is a huge and pivotal day for Texas Tech to have him out in the 806. Well, I guess to continue to have him out in the 806. Once again, if you are excited about James Blanchard staying in the 806 and continuing with his role as the GM of Texas Tech football, all I'm going to ask you to do in today's video is simply like the video. I'm excited. This is critical, right? I won't lie to you. When I heard that Notre Dame was coming for that second try, that second swing at trying to land him as their GM, I didn't like it, right? But again, that relationship, and obviously there was some money involved, but he didn't want to move his family out of Texas too. That was one of the pivotal factors for James Blanchard. They love the 806. They love the state of Texas. And I can promise you this, James, if you're watching, Red Raider Nation loves you, man, and the job that you have done so far and continue to do for Texas Tech football. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this schedule, shall we? I get it. It came out on Tuesday. I'm a little late on this. I know. There's this thing called Texas Tech men's basketball. They're pretty good, huh? They're pretty fun to watch, too. All right, so we knew who Texas Tech was going to play at the beginning of the season, right? There's game number 1 against Arkansas Pine Bluff. Game number 2 is Kent State. Oregon State is game 3. And before I hear anybody in the damn comments say, RC, they need to play a better non-con. No, they don't. No, they don't. The committee has proven that non-con can only hurt you. It does not help you, right? Those losses cannot help you in any kind of way. I don't care if you're playing the Colorado left side of the road school of the blind. As long as you win and you win by a lot, the committee's not going to care. And they proved that last year. So again, I like the route of going these, let's just say, easier teams on the schedule. There's no reason Texas Tech should not be 3-0 going into their first matchup in the Big 12. And now we know what the Big 12 schedule looks like. Here we go. At Utah, tough. That's a tough way to start, okay? You get a bye after this one. The last week of September will be one of your byes. That's a tough one there. But if you're Texas Tech, you have to feel good from the perspective of you do have the bye after. That means you can just go all out in this Utah game. I expect the Utes to be a lot better, but that is a tough draw for week number 1 of Big 12 play. Should be a fun one, though, because, again, as I said, I do think Utah will be better in 2025. Better than Texas Tech? TBD. I think Texas Tech has a more talented roster, but that one's going to be a very interesting game. And we'll go through it in terms of my record prediction at the very end of it. But I just kind of want to talk about the schedule in general before I get there. Okay, so Houston. All right. That's not too bad. That's just going to be a Texas Tech South game anyway. I expect a lot of Red Raiders to take over that stadium down there in H-Town. You play Kansas at home. You get Daniels back at the quarterback position if you're the Jayhawks, right? They went out and made some portal additions as well. Obviously not as good as Texas Tech did, but that's a nice first home game in the Big 12, right? Then you go out to Arizona. Jinkies. That is a tough first couple of road games in the Big 12. Obviously, the Houston one is the quote-unquote easier one, but you play Arizona State and Utah on the road. That is tough. Then you come back home and play Oklahoma State. I truthfully don't know what to expect from Oklahoma State. I really don't. I don't think they're going to be as bad as they were last year, but I don't think they're going to be as good as probably some Oklahoma State pundits and Mike Gundy expect them to be either. They feel like kind of like a 500 team. I could be wrong there. There's a lot more time for them to get better, including the spring window. Then you go out to Kansas State. You point blank, if we're being honest about it, Texas Tech has sucked in Manhattan. I mean, that is a place with evil demons for Texas Tech. Then you play probably the best home game in terms of most hyped on the schedule, and that'll be BYU. I don't know if the BYU Cougar fan base has ever seen tortillas fly like they will in Lubbock if they make that track from Provo, but good luck. You're about to see something what real college football looks like. Then you got UCF and Scott Frost returned to Orlando, heading to Texas Tech for Senior Day. And then you've got West Virginia, a road game. So if we're being honest about this, right, let's just look at the road games here for Texas Tech. Utah, Houston, Arizona State, Manhattan, and then you go to Morgantown. Let me get back on the screen real quick. That is tough as shit. Like, that's a really hard road schedule. To be fair, I think you are better than 3 of those teams, right? Does that mean you're going to win those games? No, because it's a road game in the Big 12. And if we've learned anything about the new era of Big 12 football, road games are coin flips at best, right, for road teams, okay? But let's go back and look at the schedule. And I'm going to go through this was my gut reaction when I saw the schedule released. So here we go. Let's start back at the top as I scroll back up here. Arkansas, Pine Bluff, you should beat them by 50. Kent State, you should beat them by 120. I'm obviously joking a little bit, but you should easily win that football game. You've got Malik Murphy up at Oregon State as the quarterback there. Doesn't matter. You should beat the Beavers at home in Lubbock. All right. Utah is interesting, okay? Because this is how I think about this schedule, if I'm being honest about it. So you have 5 road games. Again, Utah, Houston, Arizona State, you go to Manhattan to play Kansas State, and then you go to West Virginia. The thing is, for me, I think you win 3 of those games for sure, right? Maybe 4, but I think you win 3. So who do you lose to on the road? I don't know. I can't in good faith pick Texas Tech to beat Kansas State on the road with how bad they've been there historically, right? So that's an L for me, right? And then it comes down to Arizona State and Utah. In my opinion, I think it's pretty bad to play Utah early on because you haven't given them a chance to, when those older guys, I hate to say it like this, but it feels like early Utah is good and then they fall off because of injuries, right? I don't like playing Utah that early. That being said, I think you're a better team than Utah. I think you win at Utah and you lose at Arizona State. Okay, so those are 2 losses. I think you beat Houston. So right now, all the way down to Arizona State, I think Arizona State is your first loss of the year. You go to Tempe 6-0, and then you're 6-1 after that. You come home and play Oklahoma State. I think that's a win. I think you're 7-1, and then I just discussed it. I think you lose at Kansas State. I can't, in good faith, pick Texas Tech to beat Kansas State on the road. I can't do it. Until you prove it, I will happily eat my words. I will come back to this video and say I was wrong, but I can't do it. So 7-2 right there. This is where things get interesting because there's always a game that Texas Tech feels like they slip up at home when they shouldn't. Is it BYU or UCF? I think from a talent perspective, it's probably BYU, right? But at the same time, I feel like it could have been Oklahoma State. I think Texas Tech loses one of those 2 home games. I just don't know which one. And then they beat West Virginia on the road. So again, for those counting at home, I have Texas Tech going 9-3, right? That's not their ceiling. I think that's the floor. And that should be the expectation of a floor for Texas Tech, right? If they don't win at least 9 games, what was this offseason for? Okay. I also think that there's a real scenario Texas Tech goes like 11-1. They're talented enough to do it. Like, are they the most talented roster in the Big 12? I don't know about that, but I do know that they are in the top 3. I can assure you of that. When you land 10 blue chip recruits in the portal, you're going to go up a ways in those rankings, okay? So I think they're up there. You think about it from the perspective of they avoid like Iowa State. They don't play Baylor or TCU, which is really weird, right? Don't have to play Colorado. You don't play Arizona, schools like that. So it's a little weird in that regard for sure. But overall, I think Texas Tech, bare minimum, has to go 9-3, right? That's my prediction. But I think overall, like what I think is most likely is 10-2, right? And the reason being is this roster is a lot deeper than we've seen. This is arguably the most talented roster Texas Tech has had in the past 15 years. It's that good, people, right? Obviously, a lot of it comes down to Baron Morton, but my official record prediction is 9-3. I think the ceiling is 11-1, but I think 9-3 gets you in the conversation to play in Arlington, and that should be the expectation for Texas Tech this year. I'm sorry, like I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid or anything. You showed me with your actions this this really past portal window, Texas Tech. You're all in. I should be too. I have all-in expectations, and all-in expectations to me is playing in Arlington bare minimum this year. And I'm not saying anything that those guys in the building don't expect, right? I'm not saying anything that they don't expect. They have higher expectations than that. They probably want to win a couple games in the college football playoff, right? But that's the minimum, in my opinion, is 9-3 with 11-1 being the ceiling. But I think realistically, the most likely outcome with that is 9-3, and then 10-2 isn't too far behind it as well. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. Again, James Blanchard staying out in the 806 to be the GM of the Texas Tech football program. The schedule's out. I have Texas Tech going 9-3 this year. Let me know if you agree, disagree. Am I too high, too low? Let me know down in the comments below. And before you head out of here, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell to stay in the know on all things Texas Tech football all year long. And not just Texas Tech football, people. Texas Tech men's basketball as well. You want 100% free content on the gridiron or the hardwood? We've got you covered right here with the largest group of Texas Tech fans, over 11,500 strong, right here on YouTube. Just be a part of the Back to 12 squad. And as always, stay safe in Reckham Tech.